Now, for lack of a better word, title, I've called this weekend the R1 weekend. And the reason is going to be obvious very soon. We started off this weekend. Some of the modifications I had made over the winter to the R1 and recently. The tinted windscreen, different mirrors, and the handlebars most of all. And what I wanted to do now, I had ridden the bike already a couple of times, short rides. I wanted to go on a really extensive ride, and I wanted Luciano to ride the bike too and see how he liked it. Most of all, how he liked the mirrors. Now, every sport bike I've ever had, when you look in the mirrors, you see half of a shoulder. Well, so anyway, the deal was, we decided we're going to ride, Luciano's going to ride his 1000cc bike, I'd ride the R1. We were going to kind of compare our notes at the end of this weekend. And maybe I'd even get to ride the Ducati a little bit. Now, this is basically Joe's bike, and he was the one that was the original owner of Luciano's Ducati, of course, and we've gotten to be kind of friends with him. We've ridden together a few times, and we love his bike. And one of the things, now I'm a quick learner. People don't, one thing good about me, not many things good about me, I know, but one of the things that is good, and I've used it to my advantage my whole life, is I'm a quick learner. When I see something I like, I go right home and do it myself. Now, from the week before this, I got to sit on his Brutale MV Augusta, and the first thing jumped out at me is the mirrors. I said, wow, they're perfect. So I went home and ordered a set of mirrors. And I said, what's the worst? They were about 30 bucks if I remember right. When I put them on the bike and went for a little test ride, a couple 10-mile ride, I was amazed. I said, it was worth the whole day of riding with Joe just to copy his idea for the mirrors. And it was absolutely wonderful. Now, riding with Luciano, this bike, and I've ridden this bike, very, very fast bike. The only thing I don't like about it, the handlebars are too low for my taste. And it's very, very, and I mean very quiet. When this bike passes you, you don't even hear it running. It's very quiet. It's like my R1 was when I had the stock mufflers on it. But anyway, it's always an enjoyable bike. What we try to do is if we ride RDs, we ride RDs. If we ride these sport bike things, we ride them. And if we do the touring bike things, we do those. But anyway, so what happened? We were up there nice and early. This was really a hot weekend. I'm going to remember that the temperature was at 97 or 98 or something in my garage. And I don't usually wear I have a complete mesh riding suit that I only use a couple times a year, and I have written on my thermometer, above 90 degrees, wear the mesh suit and just live with it. There's our friend with his RC8 pulling into the lot. All of the usual suspects. Now, some people may miss this along the way, but it's about the people. And I think we have a pretty eclectic, pretty cool group of people. Everybody gives each other a hard time about having the slowest, the fattest, the oldest, whatever. I love this t-shirt. This is a beautiful t-shirt. And see, I wasn't really wearing, of course, the best shirt on the Pokey is one of my best advertisements because everybody loves Pokey, especially Jose. They all love Pokey, and when he wears this shirt, they're jealous of him. Pokey, don't let them kid you. Having one of those motorcycle restoration by Windy shirts sets you apart in the crowd. I'm just not sure what part. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but right in the middle of this, we were all sitting on this rock, and out of this crack in the rock, up came a lizard. There's a lizard right here, some little inert lizard. And of course he was looking to jump down Luciano's underwear or something, but we got him. Now, so the first day of riding the R1, an extensive ride, that was between the ride and the ride home and the little diversion. I'm really convinced the bars more than anything else are really to die for, but I needed to get Luciano to ride the bike for a day. So that'll happen tomorrow, but our grandson came over. I was going to take him to his first cruise night. He's never been to a cruise night. He loves anything that makes noise, trains, planes, motorcycles, or just loud noises. So Grammy and I decided we're going to take him to his first cruise night. Now, if you've never been to a cruise night, before we even got to cruise night, I saw one of the Ninjas that looks pretty much like the one on my track bike. It looks like exactly it, in fact. Luciano would know the years. Yeah, the wheels are the same, the fairings the same. But anyway, this is one of our 2 track bikes that looking forward to riding. In September, we're going to go to our track days. Now, if you've never been down to, and I invited several people, including Joe, of course, to join us one night down here. If you like old cars, old music, it's all free. And pretty much Karen and I enjoy it. It takes about an hour to do the perp walk up the parking lot, down the parking lot, see all the cars. See some of our friends that have spent their life saving restoring an old Buick or something. And so I didn't want to carry Miles for an hour, so I took our little sun stroller here. And he actually was pretty good. He enjoyed it. But what he liked the best, he liked a couple of the guys in the parking lot were doing little burnouts and stuff, and I think that's what entertained him the most. And I saw this. Now, I don't know what this is, the paint job, and there's something on the front fender and a nitrous bottle and I guess it's supposed to be a dragon or something, I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to figure. And some sport bikes. Not many bikes this early in the season. Last year, early in the season, there were only about 20, 25 bikes, but there's always something. Now, one of my personal favorites, I love these old trucks. Now, one of the things I like to look at, some of these modified engines, I mean, they really look cool. Look at all the plumbing going into this thing. And I'll bet when you got to change the plugs on this, it's a bitch. But anyway, it's at the Whiskey Cafe, just across the street from Medieval Times. It's every Saturday. Starts around 5, maybe 6, goes to way after dark. There's still guys running engines, and they're all revving up their motors, and I love looking. Here's some of the cars with blowers on them. One of the Mustangs. Some of the very... Now what happens, the Mustangs all kind of take up this one little spot, and they hang with their group. I love the color. This is our friend Ken Tyser, the color of his Camaro. And I think this is pretty much the same color as the new Kawasaki's, the 1400s and stuff. One of the Roush motors. And there are some really wild cars here. Actually, last year there was a guy brought a funny car in here. I don't know how to even get plates on some of these cars. But there's always the exotic, there's always the hard to find, there's always one of my favorites, believe it or not. And this thing has a pretty cool engine in it. He didn't have the hood open tonight. Some of the old 3-tone Dodges. And the Mustangs. It seems like there's a lot of Vets and Mustangs. Now, I always try to take pictures of the Vets for my friend who's just finished restoring his 62 Vet out in California, John Pothier. Good friend, John, this one's for you, my friend. I don't know, this is not a 62, but and I can't tell the year by year, with probably a 58 or a 59 or something. But anyway, there was a bunch of Vets there that night. And there's one, I'll be showing it here soon. It was really exotic, like I call it the Batman Vet. This guy had LEDs all over the engine. It was pretty cool. As it got dark, this thing was like a Christmas tree. One of the old caddies. And this is Karen's favorite. She always says when we retire from motorcycling and get into old cars, this is what she'd like to have, and get dressed up in her 20s outfit. Now this made my day complete. There aren't many people that get to go rub up against a Duzenberg on Saturday night, but this is, if you've never seen a Duzenberg in real life, and not everybody has, of course, a Duzenberg is a big car. Now look at the Chevy right next to it, and look how big it is. It really comes in like Tyrannosaurus Rex into the parking lot. I mean, you can put dead body, imagine you could put an R1 right on the back here. And you know that saying where they say, it's a doozy? You're trying to describe something. What a doozy. Well, you know, that comes from the Duzenberg. And when he goes up and down the roads with the Duzenberg. It's got those big pipes. It's got a beautiful sound. It sounds like that MV Augusta, in fact. And some of the exotic cars, some of these, they're really wild. I always try to include all of the Cobras and all of the cars like Cobras, these Cobra-like things, for our friend Buddy Weeder, who built his own kit Cobra. Some of these are just gorgeous. Some of them are really... It's hard. I take pictures of cars just because I like the paint. And there's every variation, every kind of modification. And some of these modern motors that, oh my God, they are just unbelievable. I look at this, it looks like, I don't know how many, you know, how many hours it must take to do all this polishing and installation. And ask me how I know about polishing aluminum. And the old cars, like when I went to high school, if you had that car, you'd have any girlfriend you want. And of course, I call them the Karen cars, the ones that are not made into hot rods. And every variation of ones with beautiful paint, originally restored. See, here's Karen in the picture telling me I'll never get that until I sell all the motorcycles. Not happening, baby. And some of them, the paint work. Now, I don't know what it costs to paint a modern car if you just bring it to a guy out in California, and probably John Pothia knows, but it's definitely a lot of money. Now, as long as I've been going to cruise night, the gentleman that owns this car, this is a unique, I think it's a unique, a 57, because my uncle, who was very close when I was a kid and I was learning how to drive and everything, he had this exact car, this color and everything. So it brings back a lot of good memories every time I see it. And John, this is for you. Now, this is a vet. Look at the Batman headlights. I'm not sure. It's got a I don't remember what year that. It's the grill from something that they used to always put that grill in. Who the hell even remembers? My brain doesn't remember that much. Look at the headlight work. This is all molded and fiberglassed and bondoed and of course Packard tail lights. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful paintwork. And we've seen this guy pull out of the parking lot. This is a real race car that he obviously has a plate. See, in Jersey, you can register these hot rod cars as historic, and they don't have to go to inspection. So they can run blown motors and nitrous and everything, and these big wide tires, and just drive down a cruise night. And I always thought a lot of them, a mile from cruise night, had a trailer, and they had them on a trailer. But some of them actually just drive down there. It's a little fuely. This guy drives there all the time, and when he pulls out, he always manages to do a little wheelie and stuff. And again, if you've never been down at a cruise night, it's at Whiskey Cafe. It's a lot of laughs. It's totally free. You'll always meet some people to hang out with, and this, I always see this car. Now, this is the one I want, John. I had a 66 Chevy too. I had a 66 and a 68. And this one had a 327 350. This one, I had the cheap body, the full race body, but this one has the super sport type of body. And it was this color. And boy, what I wouldn't give to have it back today. Actually, the car was stolen by a young kid, wrapped around a pole. He was caught, and his father made a deal with me that if I dropped the charges, he'd buy me a new Chevy. And I bought the 68 that I had with the big engine and a floor shift and everything. So I'm not sure I won that. So anyway, Karen's enjoying it. She doesn't want to hear about me buying a Chevy too. She doesn't want to hear me buying anything anymore. And you can't walk past the Duzenberg without, but the guy that owns this is absolutely restored. It's restored to the level that's unbelievable. Every rivet, every chrome bolt, everything is brand new. And of course, if money's no object, these things are really, here's his plate, just unbelievable. And I really appreciate the work. A lot of these people that go to cruise night do their own work. Some farm it out and just have a lot of money. I always kind of like, he's one of the really hot vets. Now I've seen him pull out of the parking lot already. He's another guy that does a wheelie pulling out of the parking lot. Some of the wild paint work. Some of the stuff is not my taste, but then all of this paint work is subjective anyway. And they always have, and you don't really hear it here because it's just still pictures. They always have 50s and 60s music playing, and these guys are always advertising. I guess they get ants in their pants too. They finish a restoration, and then they want to move on to something else. That's what happens to me. I finish one bike, and I want to go out and get another old bike to work on. Now this one was exceptional. The zoomies on this, I was just couldn't wait to hear how this ran. There's no baffling at all. And he drove this here. And look how it's chopped. Your head sticks out the top of the car. And I waited around because I wanted to see him go. And your head sticks out. Yeah, I guess you wear a crash helmet or a... Look at the tires and everything. Very cool, like a California car. But the headers got to me. I don't know. Maybe there are baffles in there. I don't think so, though. But one of these days, if I ever get there in time, or I'm there when he leaves, it's always nice when they leave. They all have to do something when they leave spectacular. And usually because I had the baby, I didn't stay till after dark. Look at the beautiful polishing, and I know what it takes to polish this stuff. Another Chevy too, an earlier one. Look at the engine, beautiful. Everything. I really respect the workmanship that goes into a lot of these cars. This has a lift-off hood. Just beautiful. And there's something beautiful, my boy. Gonna be 2 years old very soon. Loved this cruise night. He loved every time they started up one of these hot rod cars. This is a jetpack. It's a suit you strap on your back and you can fly. And we were waiting. We actually waited around to see if the guy was going to demonstrate it. He's selling them. And supposedly you can, whatever it uses for fuel, it uses hot dogs or something for fuel. But he claims you can just, in a matter of a very short time, get a few lessons and go flying around your neighborhood in a jetpack. But I don't know. At my age, that hang gliding in Brazil was enough for me. Look at the license plate, timeless. Now, I go back, and I'm sure other people my age do, I'm going to be 68, to where the Ram Chargers were the thing. The 62 Ram Charger and 63 Plymouth and Dodge, when they had the torque flight transmissions, that was the thing. When we went to the drags, and we were drag racing motorcycles, Suzuki 500 and that type of bike, and these guys came out with the Hemis. Oh my God, were they cool. They were, what memories, just seeing these cars. And the thing you can't capture is the sound. They really make a beautiful sound. They make a sound when they're going, they just go through the parking lot. And every one of them, they know that everybody's listening, so they pull next to you and gun the engine and whatever. It's really a thrill. This was a full race one, had a roll cage and everything in it. And this guy, this black car in the back, was a bunny hopper. He was doing his thing for the guys that like bunny hopping. He was jumping up and down and going sideways and stuff. One of the things I would really like to have is an old VW Bug. I really would like to have an old VW Bug. Karen loves these old cars. If it was up to Karen, we'd already have one, I think. Again, everything, and there's never two cruise nights that are the same. You have the usual suspects just like Bear Mountain, but you always have, I'd say, a third of the cars are new guys that are coming in, guys come from the city and from Brooklyn and everything. And there's always a bunch of them for sale too. If you got cash, bring your cash. This was really, now talk about nice paintwork. This was buffed out like I buff a motorcycle. This was, you can see the reflection of the building in the hood. That's how polished that was. That was like a show quality, absolutely show quality finish. Another Cobra for old buddy. This paint jumped out at me too. Now, I'm not big on flames, of course, but that color is like my R1 color. It might have been an R1 color. Look at the interior on this. Now, our friend John Cafaro, he has one of these. I think John's is black. John, send us some pictures of your hot rod. Look at the flame job. Again, I'm not a flame guy, but I guess it's appropriate for this type of car. Always a few guys with old Army cars. They just had a big military swap meet locally. There's still some guys. There's always a guy comes down with a big Army truck too that you could probably put 20 soldiers in or something. He hangs out and does his thing. Dune buggies, when I was a kid, these were popular if you had an old Volkswagen. See, now what happens with Karen? I tell Karen, this is what we should get. And she says, no, 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 that's a hot rod. And she's smart enough now to know. She can tell by looking at the wheels if it's a hot rod or not. She doesn't want a hot rod. She wants one with the old 4-cylinder engine. Or this. She would love to have this too. But always something, I always find something entertaining. And one of those modern Chrysler things. And again, this is like a 68, 69, I don't know. But I can remember the day I picked this up and think, wow, I got a brand new car edited deal. And I like the 66 way better. It was a smaller car. It was definitely faster. This thing was lowered. You couldn't even put a piece of paper underneath it. And this guy was, I should have taken some video of this guy bunny hopping. I don't get the whole bunny hop thing, but there were a lot of people standing around watching it. Now this guy, you don't really see it in the picture, but look at the tires. The tires almost touch in the middle. They're like the biggest slicks possible. And he always, when he goes through the parking lot, this has some kind of very powerful engine that the whole parking lot shakes when he starts this thing up. Then these modern, kind of modern things. Karen's other second favorite is 57. Beautiful. Some older vets. The wild little engine. Look at those. Almost looks like a 4-cylinder, like a bike engine in there. Some nice paintwork on this guy. Some of the darts. Nice. Now this was pretty cool. This guy had a Datsun with a Corvette engine. That looked pretty cool. And the Shelbys. And you always look on the dashboard to see if they're signed by Carroll Shelby. I wonder if somebody's forging his signature. This one was in a crew of about 4 or 5 Shelbys that were all signed on the dashboard. Maybe there's a decal you buy and put on your dashboard. I don't know. Or maybe he just, well, he's dead now, but a lot of dead guys can still sign stuff. So Karen, absolutely. The baby, absolutely. We really got our exercise, and we stayed about an extra half hour looking at all the cars. And she wanted to take a picture of me because the second half of the night, I had to push the baby carriage. Of course, it's good for my image. Everybody knows I'm in contention for Grandpa of the Year. Or some contention, I don't know. Now, John Pothier probably knows this. I think this was a common thing they did, is they put the extra tail light in so it had 6 tail lights instead of 4. I don't know, but just thought I'd get a picture of that for John. And again, this is my dream come true would be to find this car, but with the post in the window, 327, 350, L79. You know what, probably ain't gonna happen in my lifetime, but. And another car. Now, one of my good friends, who we're having our 50th class reunion, his father had this car when it was new, and it was only a year or 2 old, and he gave it to him. And we used to ride around in this car picking up girls, and they all used to think this was the coolest car in the world because it was big and you could put 9 kids in it. And one of these real custom things. More beautiful paintwork. So we get back, we went down to the kid's house, and this is Miles's new toy. I had to get ready for the next day where Luciano and I were going to do a bike swap. So I got up nice and early, called Luciano. We got the R1 ready. I wanted him to do his thing today. And then I got to ride the Ducati, he got to ride the R1. Now, in my evaluation of his Ducati, I had ridden one other Ducati similar to this, a 996, and I found it to be, at the time, that was many years ago, I found it to be that I wasn't real crazy about it because of the riding position. The only thing I didn't like about it was I would have wanted the clip-ons to be 6 inches higher. But now, as I've gotten older, I want the clip-ons to be 12 inches higher. And I was really, toward the end of this, I was getting to where my neck was hurting. But it was a fun bike to ride. It's got great power delivery. Smooth, predictable. When you heeled over, it comes on smooth as can be. And the video, he's got some video posted up, I think, on his. By the way, Luciano's website is Luciano, F-E-L-I-C-I, and it's on YouTube, of course. Now, I have a set of the SWAT bars that might mount these about 2 inches higher. You might not have to change anything here. I'm going to give him the Luciano. He's going away on vacation, but when he comes back, we'll see about modifying this. So here we are with the rest of the usual suspects. We met some new people. I'm going to try to include them in the future. We gave them our information for getting to YouTube. And of course, Luciano, after he really scuffed the tires in good on the way up here. And he did enjoy the bars. He really did like the bar conversion. And the mirrors. Joe, thank you for buying that pair of mirrors, because I think you're going to see a lot more of those mirrors. These mirrors on the R1, I can see as if I have the helmet on backwards. It's really great. And one of the things we do when we ride, we never like to lose sight of the guys in the parade. I don't want to get so far ahead or behind that I can't see the other guys. So what happens if we have somebody faster with us, we ask them to just, you know, take us into consideration. And if we have somebody that's a newer rider, or like when Rob rides with us, he rides a little slower. So we try to notch the pace down a little bit, but that they're never out of view of the mirrors, so that if there's an accident or a crash or something, who knows? You know, you want to know that something happened to your friend. And that's the general etiquette rule that we use, is always have the guy that's on the ride with you in view.